You know what? It's about friggin' time. It's about friggin' time that we get a Star Wars movie that isn't just okay, that doesn't just do a few things right and a lot of things badly. Instead, we got Revenge of the Sith, and this movie is actually genuinely straight up a banger. It's friggin' awesome. The story is good, the characters are fun to watch, the plot is interesting, and the movie itself guides us beautifully right into the original trilogy. Finally, and arguably the most importantly, there's no more Jar Jar Binks. He's gone. You know, I never thought heaven would look like this.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
No! Oh! Not how this was supposed to go.
Okay, fine, there's a little bit of Jar Jar Binks, just a smidge, just a little tad here and there, but hey, he's only in like 2 scenes and he has 0 lines. Personally, I see this as an absolute win. To be fair though, this is how it should have been the entire time. Making Jar Jar thing is the worst decision George Lucas ever made.
Hold up.
Okay, fine, second worst, but the point is there's no more Jar Jar, there's no more Jar Jar, he's gone. You know, there's this weird pattern with Star Wars movies that I call the theory of attraction to the source material, that being the original movie. Okay, the name of the theory could use a little work, but that's not the point. The theory itself is this. The closer a movie is to the original Star Wars movie, that being Episode 4, A New Hope, the higher quality it is. So, for example, The Empire Strikes Back is right after A New Hope, and it's the best Star Wars movie by far. But then you get a little too far away in any one direction, and all of a sudden, bam, you got The Phantom Menace, or even worse, The Rise of Skywalker. See what I mean? It's just kind of funny how that works. But hey, that's just a theory. Oh, anyway, the point that I'm trying to make is that Revenge of the Sith is pretty good because of how close it is to A New Hope. Or maybe it's close to A New Hope because it's pretty good. Interesting theory we have here, interesting question. But I'm only 38, I ain't no philosopher, I'm not that philosophical. That's a question for Aristotle. But you don't need to be a philosopher to acknowledge that Revenge of the Sith is pretty freaking decent. It basically fixes all the things that the other 2 prequels do wrong. And while it still does some fairly big issues, they are nowhere near as gargantuan as the issues in the first 2 movies. By far, the most refreshing thing to see is the characters. For the most part, every single character in this movie is much more natural and way more engaging to watch. The lines are less, how do I put this, Shakespearean, and they roll off the tongue way easier. You can tell that the actors are enunciating every single syllable just so that you can physically understand what they're saying. And possibly the most satisfying change is that there are actually some funny jokes throughout the movie, mostly in the first half. I couldn't tell you why, but for some reason, as soon as the main character starts chopping kids up like a fresh block of cheddar, there's a lot less room for comedy. Very strange, I know, total mystery to me. But in the first few scenes especially, there are actually some funny moments. Some of those are verbal, some of those are goofy scene transitions, and some of those are just random moments. In my last video, where I reviewed Attack of the Clones, you might recall me saying that there is only one funny joke in the entire movie, and I stand by that wholeheartedly. But one of the big reasons for that is because Hayden Christensen could not be funny to save his life in that movie. Well, dear viewer, I'm happy to say that in Revenge of the Sith, that's kind of changed. There are still a good few scenes where his delivery just does not work whatsoever, but there's also a few scenes where he actually says some genuinely funny stuff. It is worth noting that he's usually only funny when Obi-Wan's involved, but that's another thing the movie does really well. In this movie, Anakin and Obi-Wan actually seem like they like each other, which is such a nice change because in Attack of the Clones, they constantly felt like they were, I don't know, casual acquaintances, just talking to each other for the second or third time. Their interactions were hollow and wooden and lacked any meaningful sincerity or connection. Here, you actually feel like they're friends. They have banter now, and they go back and forth with each other in ways that feel natural. And you know what? It is genuinely nice to see. I like seeing the 2 main characters, who are supposed to be like brothers, actually get along with each other, because that was missing from Episode 2 in a big way. It was just not there whatsoever. Now, Revenge of the Sith still does this way worse than the Clone Wars TV show does, but come on, that's like comparing finding a $100 bill in the street to winning the $1 million lottery ticket. Sure, both of them are great, and you're not going to complain about either one of them in the moment, but one of these 2 options is obviously the better one, and I think we all know which one I'm talking about. Still, Episode 3 does give them a better relationship, and that's always a good thing. The biggest thing that Revenge of the Sith does really well is the plot. In my videos where I review The Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones, one of the major problems with both of those movies is that the plots are kind of lacking. The Phantom Menace in particular really suffered from this problem. The storyline is muddled and bogged down with politics and just overall not that interesting. Episode 3 does not have that problem. The plot is really engaging and actually fun to watch. It starts off with one of the greatest opening scenes in all of Star Wars. Anakin and Obi-Wan are flying through the Battle of Coruscant, fighting their way through, and it is just 3 minutes of uncut awesomeness. Also, the CGI looks incredible. The whole battle looks so realistic. Anyway, that's besides the point, but after some goofy hijinks, the heroes land on Grievous's ship. Chancellor Palpatine is being held at the very top of this huge tower, which, a side note, feels like a terrible place to hold a prisoner. I mean, just imagine a stray missile hitting right here, and then bam, just like that, your prisoner gets sucked into the vacuum of space. Not a great plan. Regardless, Anakin and Obi-Wan get up there anyway to rescue Chancellor Palpatine. But uh-oh, they're confronted by Count Dooku. Bum, bum, bum. Now, this is kind of the problem with me reviewing this movie. I've seen The Clone Wars, and that show provides so much context for both Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. Like, because of that show, I know that these three characters have interacted so much over the course of the war, and that's why their interaction here makes sense to me, because I know that they've, spent some quality time together. But if I hadn't watched the Clone Wars and I was coming in as a random viewer, I'd probably most likely, if I had to guess, be like, oh, Count Dooku, isn't that scumsucker Yoda cooked last movie? But because I already know who Dooku is, I can't really see it from that point of view, so this whole scene right here is really good to me. After a long and really epic fight, Anakin kills Dooku with Palpatine's encouragement. As our merry trio tries to escape, they get captured and taken to the bridge. There, we meet yet another villain, General Grievous. George Lucas does this thing where he likes to introduce bad guys to his new movie, keep them in the movie for like, 5 scenes, and then kill them off. Seriously, if you want proof, just look at the entire prequel trilogy. All of the bad guys, except Sidious, are never in more than a third of any given movie. I think the goal was that people would see these characters in the movies and then go watch the TV shows to get more of them. But that's kind of a big thing to expect from just a casual viewer. A lot of people watching just want to, check out the new Star Wars movie, see what all this hype's about, and they don't really want to go watch a whole TV show to understand that. So because of all this, again, like I said about Count Dooku earlier, looking at it from an outsider's perspective, all these characters are kind of underdeveloped. But again, I am biased because I have watched all the shows. I do know about all these fellas. I know how cool they are. And therefore, their involvement makes more sense to me. But if you only watch the movies, they might feel kind of rushed and just kind of throw it in there. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Just someone let me know in the comments what they think. Anyway, Anakin lands the ship, if you can call it that. It's like half a ship at this point. It goes down to Coruscant. There we learn that Padme is pregnant, and Anakin wants to reveal their marriage to the galaxy. They end up not doing that of their own volition. That never really happens according to their own wills, so cool. Anyway, this part of the movie is kind of blurred. Sorry, I had to grab some water really quick. Let me just take a sip of this before I go on. Delicious. Anyway, as I was saying, this part of the movie is kind of blurred. A lot of stuff happens, and yet not that much happens in a short time. Let me explain a little further. When you're actually watching it, it flows pretty well, but it's hard to describe looking back on it. I'll really simplify it for you. Basically, the war rages on, and it looks like the key to ending it is killing General Grievous. I honestly don't know how that would end the war. I feel like if he died, then someone else would just step up and take his place, but whatever. As Obi-Wan goes to Utapau to kill Grievous, Yoda goes to Kashyyyk to help the Wookiees. There's really no reason for him to be here that I can see, at least, because we can clearly see Luminara unduly standing right here in this scene. The Wookiees have Jedi help right there, but they want Yoda because... Oh, wait. He's gotta go meet Chewbacca for fan service. I forgot about that. Anyway, Obi-Wan goes and fights Grievous, and after a long fight, he ends up killing him. This is way more satisfying after watching the Clone Wars, because now we know how long the Republic has been trying to kill this guy. Also, their fight is really cool, and this whole part of the movie is actually really fun to watch. Plus, I genuinely think that this one scene alone contributed more to Star Wars meme culture than like almost any other scene in Star Wars. I mean, for crying out loud, there's a whole successful Star Wars channel named after this one quote, so uncivilized. It's actually crazy. The best part of this entire movie is how well Palpatine plays Anakin. I was taking notes while I was rewatching this movie to make this video, like a studious lad, and I'm pretty sure I wrote 3 different versions of Palpatine plays Anakin like a drum. Everything he does is so calculating and manipulative. He also understands how the Jedi Council will react and uses that too. The best example of this is how Palpatine says he wants to appoint Anakin to the Jedi Council. That is not how the Council works. Palpatine ain't got that kind of power. He can't just choose some random guy out of the blue and say, I want you on the Council. They're 2 different entities. But Palpatine knows deep in his heart of hearts that the Council will accept this installment just so that they can use Anakin to spy on him. And he also knows that along the way, they'll also do something to humiliate him. Maybe, I don't know, not make him a Jedi Master, something goofy like that. So he beautifully predicts that by doing this, it'll end up turning Anakin away from the Jedi and towards him. And this is something Palpatine does all the time. He really is such a good villain in this movie. What's up?
Oh,
What?
dinner time.
Okay, 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 I'm coming.
I'll be in New York with the gangsters.
Guess who's back again. It's me. After a beautiful dinner, I'm very full now. Anyway, this all comes to a head when Anakin gets visions that Padme is going to die. He can't imagine living without her, simp, and he thinks that Palpatine is the only one who can possibly help. Palpatine slowly lures Anakin closer and closer, and finally tells him that he can save Padme's life, because he's the Sith Lord they're looking for. Now, to his credit, Anakin initially goes and reports him to the Jedi Council, but when Mace Windu and some other Jedi leave to go arrest him, Anakin gets scared. He thinks that Palpatine is the only one who could save Padme, so he goes after them. And this is where the movie gets really good, and by that, I mean really sad. Basically, everything around them starts crumbling to pieces. And it's all this guy's fault. Nah, I'm just kidding. Free my boy Cody. He was just following orders. It was actually all this guy's fault. Mace Windu and his Jedi amigos over there pull up to Palpatine's office and put up probably the worst fight I've ever seen in my entire life. Well, actually, I can't really blame Mace Windu. He popped the frick off. But the 3 other Jedi Masters he took with him just sucked scum the entire fight. You can't even really call it a fight in good conscience. They died so quickly. Look, if you guys are freaking dorks, just say that. Anyway, right as Mace Windu is about to kill Palpatine, Anakin cuts off his hand, and Palpatine kills Mace Windu. After that, Anakin formally pledges himself to Sidious and becomes Darth Vader. Sidious activates Order 66, and all the Jedi get killed instantly. This scene is really sad, there's no other way to put it, it's actually tragic. There's a YouTuber I like called The Closer Look, and he made a whole video just about Order 66, so you can go watch that if you want to learn more. But right now, all you gotta know is that this scene is really sad, it's freaking sad. After Order 66 happens, the rest of the movie kind of falls into place naturally. Yoda and Obi-Wan both escape, and they decide to go confront Darth Sidious and Anakin respectively. One of my favorite details in the entire movie is that Padme won't tell Obi-Wan where Anakin is, and instead, Obi-Wan's gotta pull some sick Sherlock Holmes moves to figure it out. I don't know, I just think it's kinda cool, I can't really explain why. When Padme and Obi-Wan get there, Anakin has just wiped out all the Separatist leaders in one decisive stroke. Then he looks across the lava and sees Padme, and he goes to greet her, because why the frick not? And this is where Hayden Christensen shines. For the entire prequel trilogy, his best acting has always been when he's being darker and more moody. So he actually kills it in this scene, and I can feel his anger. Granted, there is still some pretty bad dialogue that sounds kind of weird when he says it out loud.
Don't make me kill you.
Boom! But there's not too much of that at all. Anakin takes out Padme, and then he and Obi-Wan have the greatest duel in all of Star Wars. Some people, idiots, think that it's Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan versus Darth Maul. They are simply straight up wrong. This duel is the greatest of all time. The scenery, the changing environment, the emotional conflict between the two characters, and obviously, the exceptional choreography. Everyone involved really worked their butts off to make this look cool, and it shows, it really shows. Simultaneously, Yoda confronts Emperor Palpatine in the Senate, and they have another awesome duel. What's so great about this one is the fact that it's the two most powerful characters in Star Wars facing off against one another. The leader of the Jedi versus the leader of the Sith. It was always going to be a showdown to remember, but in the end, Sidious wins, and Yoda fails. And at the same time, Obi-Wan cuts off all of Anakin's remaining limbs with one fell swoop, leaving him in the exact same position as the guy from the Metallica song 1. You know, it's the one that goes, I can't remember and... whatever, if you know, you know. Frick, man, if you know, you know. Sidious patches Anakin up and officially gives us Darth Vader. And a sneak peek of the Empire's new weapon, but I'm sure that it won't be used to blow up entire planets. I mean, that's just stupid. Finally, the movie ends with Yoda going into exile and Obi-Wan giving Luke to Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru on Tatooine. You know, I would love to say that this scene brought me to tears and made me start weeping uncontrollably, but for some reason they did it really weirdly. Like, Obi-Wan hands Luke to Aunt Beru, and she walks, I don't know, 150 feet over to where Uncle Owen is staring at the sunset? Hey, buddy, look, I ain't no father, and I'm perfectly willing to admit that, but maybe, just maybe when your adopted son is getting delivered, you'd wanna, oh, I don't know, take a gander at the guy giving him to you? I mean, this guy, you don't know what this... Stupid, man. Stupid people, stupid world. But yeah, Obi-Wan delivers Luke, Leia becomes a princess on Alderaan, which I'm sure will get turned into a broken Lego set in like 19 years or so, and the movie ends with the classic Tatooine twin sunsets. And that's it, that's the movie, that's Revenge of the Sith, episode 3. Like I said earlier, this movie fixes most of the problems with the first two prequels. The story is really interesting, all of the characters are way better, and there's way fewer scenes with terrible romance and bad dialogue. Notice that I said fewer. That's because they absolutely still exist, and they are still pure torture to watch.
You're so beautiful.
Yeah, I don't know what you think you are doing, but that is not Riz! Still, there are way less of them than episode 2, so I'm not complaining. One of the things this movie does not get enough credit for is the CGI. Let me tell you right now, this movie looks great. The digital effects are on another level, and it still holds up today without a shadow of a doubt. All of the space battles are incredible, all of the indoor spaces actually look somewhat real, and it just doesn't take you out of the moment in any one place. Again, a far cry from Attack of the Clones, believe me. However, one of my bigger criticisms is that the pacing isn't exactly the greatest. Like, 1 second, Anakin's this happy, nice guy, smiling and joking with Obi-Wan, and then literally less than 20 minutes later, he's killing kids. The progression feels weird to me, and I knew it was gonna happen. Also, can we just talk for a minute about how bad killing kids really is? Like, it's a big joke at this point, oh, I wonder how Young Jedi Adventures is gonna end, and all that stuff, but on a serious note, that's like Hitler-level behavior, man. Killing kids is like the lowest of the low. I know that, oh, they're still good in him, I can still save him, but after you willingly go and kill dozens of children, it's gonna be harder to see you coming back to the light side. Ain't nobody, not one soul during World War II looking at Hitler and going, they're still good in him. I know it's a space opera, but that's still kind of crazy, man. Anyway, before I got on the tangent, I was saying that the pacing was a little weird, and I firmly believe that. One of the bigger results of this is that the movie ends up telling us stuff that we don't see. Like, I personally know that the Chancellor and Anakin are close friends from the Clone Wars and other sources, but before this movie, they've only talked to each other twice in the entire prequels. And now you're telling me that they're they're the bestest of friends, but you're not showing me that. I just feel like this relationship could have been built up a little bit more, but after we figure out they're friends, it falls into place pretty well. Also, can I just say that Ian McDiarmid is easily one of the best actors in the entire prequel trilogy, and he manages to make the most wooden dialogue sound good, so hats off to him. That's really impressive. And this isn't just in episode 3, he's really good in all the prequels. I meant to say this in my Attack of the Clones video, but I just completely forgot. Overall, Revenge of the Sith is by far the best prequel. Far and away, the best part of the movie is the plot. It's actually interesting and done pretty well. Like I said earlier, there are problems with the pacing, and it does feel a little rushed sometimes, but it's not too bad. All the actors are pretty good, and the best two by far are Ewan McGregor and Ian McDiarmid. Oh, and quick side note, Ewan McGregor is an absolute gem throughout this movie. Oh, Ewan, you wonderful man. You really have grown. Grown more beautiful, that is. Well, boys, I always thought it would never be me, but every YouTuber eventually falls into the rabbit hole of cringy YouTuber jokes. But while I have you, actually, I want to tell you two things, and I want to do them therapeutically, like I'm talking to my psychiatrist, which I do not have, but if I did, I would lie on their couch like this. And I would say this, boys. I'd say, first of all, subscribe, and second of all, rest in peace, Pop Smoke. God bless the King of New York. Live forever. Rest in peace. What you know about love? I got what you, because I got like the Pop Smoke shirt and stuff. Right, boys. There it goes again, the cringy YouTuber jokes. Anyway, the big takeaways from that are subscribe and rest in peace, Pop Smoke. God bless. Now let's finish the video. Hayden Christensen is much better in this movie than he was in Attack of the Clones, but he's not always great, and he definitely feels a little robotic sometimes. Also, the love scenes are still pretty bad. To sum it all up, I'd give Revenge of the Sith a 9 out of 10. It's by no means the greatest Star Wars movie, but it's not too far off either. And it is way better than Attack of the Clones, by a mile, but to learn about that, you need to watch this video right here. I go over episode 2 in great detail, and I think you'll really like it. Thanks for watching, boys, and the small percentage of girls who watch my videos. You are appreciated and valued, and I'm glad. I hope you enjoyed. Be sure to subscribe. Bye. See you later. See ya. Bye.